The 10-Minute Talent Rant is live. I'm James Hornick. I'm joined by Jeff Smith, and we are on the clock. The 10-Minute Talent Rant is our ongoing series where we break down things that are broken in the talent acquisition and hiring space, and maybe even pitch a solution or two. This week's topic, getting older at work shouldn't have to suck. No. Jeff, ageism, kick us off here. Give us a primer.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that gets lost in like our current discourse, I mean, clearly everyone is hyper aware right now of, discrimination, disclusion based on predominantly like race, sexual orientation, things of that. Like the parlance of our times, these are the things that are at the forefront. It's super easy to forget that, given all that discourse, that discrimination based on age legislatively is written directly alongside all of those other things that I just mentioned. I don't think it's buried per se, but it's worth noting that it's firmly entrenched alongside the others for very obvious reasons.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about ageism again and kind of highlight some other points. And I don't want to make it comparative, so I want to be very kind of mindful of that. We're not, all discrimination is wrong. There's one thing that I think is different about the ageism space, though. And I was having a conversation yesterday about, because there's lack of inclusion and then there's exclusion. These are both things that kind of have to be addressed. And I think that ageism is just overt. It's something where I know there's people out there not getting hired based on race, based on gender, based on whatnot, but no one's getting told that, or no one's saying like, I'm not hiring this person because of their race. I'm sure there are some people, but that's not something I've ever heard myself. It happens, but I'm saying the overt level. I have heard people say, I want to hire somebody younger. I have heard people say all kinds of offensive things. Someone who's too long in the tooth, we want someone who's got more runway. Like, this is like a level where people feel more comfortable just being flat out ageist in their own language, not even trying to like use coded words or anything else like that, which leads me to believe this. Like, first off, the population of people who are going to be discriminatory intentionally, that's not really even who I'm talking to, because I think those people are kind of beyond help. Like, that's not who I want to really talk to. But I think that ageism is so widespread that there are people who I think want to be inclusive and thoughtful about these types of things, are so conditioned to it being normal that they don't even think twice about it. Mm-hmm. Like, they're overt in their language. And if they just, that's why I want to talk about it, to bring it to people's attention that these things are wrong, and these things maybe you've heard used are things that you're being ageist and you're discriminating based on people on that. Because I think the other bigger problem too is it's so, as you kind of mentioned, it's so in the background. Like, a lot of other areas, like DEI has gotten so much credibility and is growing because of other things that have happened in society. So like the Me Too movement put gender equality like on the forefront. That became top and center for everyone else. Obviously, everything with George Floyd, Black Lives Matter, put race and everything else. It's very present in people's minds. There's a lot of things in terms of LGBTQ that have happened over the past 10 years, lots of different issues there. Ageism doesn't have anything like that. There hasn't been some big issue that happened where that's on the forefront of people's minds. And that's why I think it's one area, it's an uphill battle because of that. And it's something that needs to be kind of talked about. So,
yeah, I mean, and to your point, this isn't stuff that we as recruiters are just hearing. Literally, one of our commenters on our promotional post said that somebody said to her that she won't have enough runway. I think that I don't want to misrepresent exactly the quote, but it was either said directly to her or secondarily to her. And like these ideas, this individual won't get into the weeds. Will this person get bored with the job? We need technical proficient. What does that mean? Like, can you turn on a computer and, do you have intermediate Excel skills? Good. Here. Younger employees are a better investment. All of these things are coded biases. And to your point, sometimes it's not even coded.
Not even coded. They don't even bother coding it.
Yeah. So listen, the fact of the matter here is overqualified is a cop-out. It's a joke, plain and simple. Like, I've always taken the approach, and I think everybody at HireWell, like, who are we to tell anyone what they should or should not do, or what they are or are not open to doing based on their experience? Like, if somebody fits a job description, they fit a job description. It doesn't matter if they bring more skills to the table. Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah. And I think so too. I want people to realize too that Jeff and I are recruiters. It is a recruiter problem, but it's a hiring manager problem. It's top down. Like it's pervasive how this thing kicks through. So I think I do have some fixes. And I guess the last thing before we get into kind of what people can do as individuals to start addressing this type of stuff. I think that people need to understand with age comes range. Like the more experience, the more life experience you have, that's a valuable asset. And whether it comes down to addressing new problems or new things, and we're in a world where there's always something new that hasn't been done before, the more range of experiences you have to draw on is an advantage. And so I just, in case there's people out there who still think for some reason that younger people are always the better option for these types of things, like, I have said this before, it's proven that older employees tend to have longer tenures with companies. The idea that, if you want to hire someone for like a longevity standpoint, you should go younger is absolutely flawed. But anyways, let's talk about fixes a little bit. There's one thing that this is a little bit of a tough love point, and this is for job seekers specifically. Job searching is hard and most people suck at it. We're going to do a whole 10-minute talent rant just on this part alone. And I don't mean that in an offensive way. I mean, it's hard and most people don't serve for jobs very often. So you're not an expert at it. And there are people out there who are older who are getting discriminated against in their search. But it's a trap to fall into thinking that the reason why you're struggling with your search is just because of that. Because I've had a lot of conversations with people who've had struggles with their search, who are older, who are they're at their wits' end and they're ready to give up. But when I talk with them, they're doing a few things search-wise that are blatantly wrong and not setting themselves up for success. So my point is just this: that be mindful that there are other things within your control you can control, because otherwise, I just think you have to kind of keep an open mind that maybe there are other things you need to kind of work on.
Yeah, it goes part and parcel, right? Like folks with long tenures just haven't flexed those muscles in a while. Yeah,
which is totally understandable.
Yep.
The second thing is, I think it's important when you target companies, and this is something we'll talk about in terms of targeting companies someday, focus on companies that have a DEI focus. A lot of companies are focused and have big initiatives right now. They're easy to find. They may not be focusing on ageism. That might not be something that's front and center in their initiatives, but that's okay, because you have to realize that there's a lot of DEI leaders out there doing great work. They're getting pulled in a million different directions. They have different initiatives. They're trying to everything. So race, gender, sexuality, everything else, like it's a lot on their plate. And they have a lot of other people at their company who are, who want to talk about these other things. And I think the important thing is just finding companies that are forward thinking, that because at least even if they haven't addressed ageism specifically, they have the mindset, the inclusive mindset, that's something they're open to, right? So I think if you're trying to figure out, okay, who should I work with? What companies are not going to limit my ability to grow? Just make sure to do some research there. Make that your target list of places where you want to work.
Yeah, I think the good reminder here is, regardless of your own personal age, if you are adamant and a advocate of DEI as something that is part of your own fabric, you have to remember that ageism is absolutely a part of this, and you should be getting in the ears of whether it's the DEI folks, the HR folks, the senior leadership, to make sure that still is front and center.
Yeah. Anyways, we are short on clock for this episode, so that's a wrap for this week. Thanks again for tuning in to the 10-Minute Talent Rant, part of the Talent Insight series, which is always available for replay on the HireWell YouTube channel, as well as the Talent Insights podcast on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, and Amazon. Jeff, thanks again. And everyone else out there, we will see you soon.